odd dollars.
So how much is actually budgeted so we could get that down so we know exactly what it is?
This year that we have in the
Well,
budget
for the trail, to get out
Go to a
there.
different program.
So if we know how much we're going to spend and it goes as far as it goes, then we're going to stop there, right?
Well, I'll let Ralph speak to Cabela's contribution, but my discussions with another one of their management team members is that they would see to it that the additional cost, we won't know until it's bid out. But when we've expended what the city originally budgeted, plus the $500,000, Cabela's would then bring it to where it would connect to their trail. I don't want
Ralph Kastner, the Chief Financial Officer to Cabela's, here speaking on behalf of Cabela's. Just to provide, first of all, it's a little funny. I know that Julie Young's concerned about the open meeting laws. Let me tell you, there's zero risk of a violation of the open meeting laws on this topic because we haven't spent a lot of time talking about it. But to take everyone through the history of this, we passed an occupation tax that's currently being assessed on the sales tax at Cabela's. It's either a quarter of a cent, it's either a quarter cent or a half cent. I can't remember. It's a quarter cent on our store, and the original design, the original purpose of that tax was that we could build public infrastructure, which we intended to be a walking path in and around our campus, which I'm defining as the area between the water tower and the Perkins. There's currently $161,000 in that fund. We're prepared to redirect up to $200,000 of that money, including future taxes, to see that the trail gets completed from wherever it runs out of money to wherever it should end, which I presume is someplace up around Sapp Brothers. And if it's more than that, we ought to have that conversation. But we're prepared to spend to allow $200,000 of that money to end the trail somewhere around Sapp Brothers. We would then continue to consider having a walking trail around the campus, around the Cabela's headquarters, but obviously that'd have to be future taxes that were collected years in the future. I believe I heard from Gary in a brief conversation that we have, there's $161,000 sitting in that fund today, Dave, so that would be available to spent on the completion of the project to Sapp Brothers. So, any questions for me?
And then you're also going to build a campus trail with the same funds, right?
Well, obviously it wouldn't be the same funds. From the same funding source,
Right.
we would consider building a trail at some future date. But, you know, I think we need to see where it ends, how much money's left, how much it costs, and all those kinds of things. But we're prepared to allow that money to be used to complete the trail to the extent you guys are short. So up to $200,000.
Great, thanks.
Any questions?
Ralph.
Yeah, Mark. Or Councilman.
Mark. If the path was redirected, okay, would Cabela's still be on board to foot up to $150,000?
I mean, we'd have to talk about it and see where we ended up.
I mean, what I'm saying is it just, if it doesn't get there, then you're willing, or would you be willing to do something to take a different path to get it there too?
We'd certainly, of course, I understand legally, we can only contribute this money to the extent we're bound by law because it has to go to the employment area from which the tax was generated. So I would be open to that conversation. I'd want to see where the path is and make sure it goes. But yeah, and by the way, and this is another, you know, all the rumors you hear around town of our involvement in this, we're interested in this because we think it's a great public amenity for our employees and for the citizens. The only reason there's a tie to our tax and the completion of this to Cabela's headquarters is bound by law. So I guess that's a long way to tell you, Councilman, that we'd be open to discussion for any alternative path if that was something you would. Anything else? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
I'm Dr. Cornelius. I'd like to make a pitch for completion of the path. Currently in our city, we have people who are walking, jogging, taking their dogs and so on along two-lane highways, particularly after dark. Not too long ago, I almost hit somebody on the South 11th Street, couldn't see them at night. This path would eliminate that situation, and it would probably keep us from maybe somebody getting hit and killed or badly injured on that path. Number two, when we talked about this last time, there was some concern about that you had budgeted enough money to cover this, and there was a question of $24,000, as I remember. But that money was budgeted. I think that this is a thing that would be a benefit to the city long after all of us are gone. And I guess in parting, I'd like to say that, each council has a legacy. And I would hate to have you see that your legacy was that you gave a boot to $500,000 for $24,000.
Any other comments right now?
I do have one question. At the last meeting, we discussed what the possible cost this would be to complete it up, and with the $500,000 grant plus, and there's a bunch more, and the bids would, the figures I heard was $800,000 to $1.2 million. Okay.
Yeah. We're guessing, to get it to the Comfort Inn and stuff, it could be that $800,000 mark. We've got 671, 800, somewhere between $700,000 to $800,000. We won't know until we get to final design.
Okay.
But those are the with 20% contingencies and stuff like that in there right now. That's
So
kind
it
of where
could possibly cost $800,000.
it could,
Right.
yes.
And that would put the city money at what?
We originally budgeted $171,000.
Doesn't change.
There's been about 90,000 of that has already been expended. We have turned in some from reimbursement already. We have our first check back. We haven't, we will give it back should you vote against it tonight. But once we hit that, our 171,000, the state hits their 500,000, the rest of that, Cabela's has made a commitment to covering the remaining costs.
To the extent
Up to 200,000.
So Bob, I guess on the top cap would be 871,000. We have every reason to believe it will be brought in below that. I mean, we've lost a few dollars that we can't recapture just because we redesigned the survey a few times that they're not going to count towards it, but that was a choice council made in doing that. It wasn't the fault of the project.
And our final cost estimate we put together, Bob, really truly won't be as accurate as it could be under normal circumstances, because we will hand the plans off to the state of Nebraska, and they will complete the plans and bid it out. So we won't know what their final cost estimate is till they put it out for bid.
And you can always reject bid, correct?
Yes.
Who does the bidding then?
State
I
of
thought the
Nebraska.
state of
Or
Nebraska
I
does
guess
the
that
bid.
they approve or
They bid it out,
Do we-
and then they will submit the bids back to the city for approval.
right. So if it came in $1.2 million, you know what your answer is going to be.
Yeah.
I think till it comes out and we get a bid, you can't make a decision on that part. You let it go forward until it gets to that part. And if it does come back that high, we don't have that money.
That's the thing, we need to make a
That's right.
decision whether
We
we're
don't
gonna,
have that money, but we don't have
Yeah, but
any
we-
fixed cost.
the city's gonna incur more
I'm for going
expenses
until we
going
get to the
forward.
bitter end.
We have a few costs that we will have to incur to get it to the 90% plans and finish our NEPA documents. Another $5,000, Dave, would be a good guess at this point in time.
Okay.
This looks like to me it's just too much money at this time. We should be fixing streets, we got a budget shortfall, God knows what else is coming up that's gonna be shortfall. I just think it's the wrong thing to do, so that's just me.
Except we return the 500,000, so it won't go to a street at all. That's my.
Yeah, the way I look at it, it's a $500,000 grant that we're turning back. We've already spent, what, $80,000